Liam stepped off the small shuttle and felt the strange air of Karath brush against his skin. The planet looked quiet, almost empty, but the silence felt heavy. The sky was a pale green, and two suns cast long shadows over jagged mountains in the distance. He tightened his boots and adjusted his pack. The mission was clear: explore the planet, gather information, and report any signs of life. Yet, something about this place made him uneasy. He began walking across the rocky terrain, each step careful. Strange footprints appeared in the dust, large, clawed prints that were not human. Liam crouched to examine them. They were fresh. His heart quickened. Whatever made these tracks was still nearby. As he moved forward, he noticed movement in the distance. Shapes shifted behind tall stones. He raised his scanner, but it only showed heat signatures tall and humanoid. But not quite human. The beings stepped into view. They were taller than humans, with pale skin that shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Their eyes glowed like lanterns, bright yellow in the dim light. Liam froze for a moment, unsure if they were hostile. One of the humanoids stepped forward and made a soft sound, almost like a whisper. The rest stayed behind, watching. Liam slowly lowered his scanner. No harm, he said aloud, unsure if they understood. The humanoid tilted its head, stunning him. Then it turned and disappeared behind a rock. Liam followed cautiously, curiosity overcoming his fear. As he approached the area, he heard a low growl behind him. His heart jumped. He spun around and saw the shadow of a massive creature moving between the rocks. Its eyes glowed red and its claws scratched the stone. Before Liam could react, a second creature appeared. These beasts were enormous, their bodies covered in tough, dark, armor-like skin. They circled him, growling and testing him. Liam realized they were hunting, but he did not know why. The humanoids reappeared, not running, but standing together. One of them, a female who seemed younger, stepped forward. She raised her hand, and the beasts hesitated. Liam noticed something in her eyes, a mix of fear and recognition. She looked at him and then back at the beasts, as if searching for help. The creatures snarled, but did not attack immediately. Liam took a cautious step forward. "We need to work together," he said. The young humanoid nodded slightly. She motioned for him to follow, and they ran toward a nearby cliff. From the top, Liam could see more of the planet. Vast forests stretched across the horizon, but shadows moved within them. The beasts prowled like ghosts. The young humanoid introduced herself as Myra. She spoke in a soft, melodic voice, using words Liam did not understand, but her gestures were clear. She led him to a small cave hidden behind a waterfall. Inside, other humanoids had gathered. They were tense, their glowing eyes wide with worry. Liam understood that these creatures were not just wildlife, they were predators, and the humanoids had reason to fear them deeply. Myra pointed to the walls of the cave, where strange carvings showed massive beasts and humanoids fighting together. Liam studied the images carefully. They told a story of battles long ago, of creatures that ruled the land and humanoids who survived through courage and cleverness. He realized that fear had shaped these people, teaching them how to live and hide. The carvings also suggested a forgotten enemy, something more powerful than the beasts he had seen. Suddenly, the cave trembled. A roar echoed from the forest, deep and terrifying. The humanoids shivered, some falling to their knees. Liam saw the fear he had never seen before. He stepped forward and touched Myra's shoulder. "We can face it," he said. His voice was calm, but firm. Myra looked at him with wide eyes, as if seeing hope for the first time. The other humanoids glanced at him, unsure, but their attention was drawn to him. Liam knew this was only the beginning. Karath was not an empty planet. It was a place of danger and mystery. The beasts were intelligent, and the humanoids were cautious. Somewhere in the shadows, a greater threat waited, one that had not been seen for generations. He also understood something else. Humans had something different: courage, adaptability, and the ability to think under pressure. If the humanoids could learn this, they might survive what was coming. As night fell, Liam sat outside the cave, looking at the glowing eyes of the humanoids around a small fire. The two suns had set, and darkness spread across the planet. The sounds of distant roars and scratching claws filled the air. Liam felt the weight of the mission. This was no ordinary exploration. It was a test of survival, not just for him, but for an entire species struggling to remember their own strength. He tightened his jacket, ready for whatever Korath had in store. The next morning, Liam woke to the soft glow of Korath's two suns. The air was cooler near the waterfall cave, and the sound of water falling over rocks created a calm rhythm. But calm was only an illusion. In the distance, he heard low growls, echoing through the forests. The beasts were near. Watching, Mira was already awake, moving quietly among the other humanoids. She glanced at Liam and motioned for him to follow. They climbed a small hill near the cave to get a better view of the surrounding land. From there, Liam could see more creatures moving among the trees. They were faster and larger than any predator he had ever encountered. Their black, armored hides reflected the sunlight, and their glowing red eyes pierced the shadows. "They are scouting," Liam said quietly. Myra nodded, her hands gripping the edge of the hill. Liam studied the beasts. They did not act randomly. Their movements were organized, as if they were planning something. "They are intelligent," he said. Mira's eyes widened. It was the first time he had spoken directly about their danger. Suddenly, the largest of the beasts leapt from the forest edge and landed near the humanoid village below. Its roar shook the ground, and the smaller humanoids screamed and scattered. Liam grabbed Myra's arm. "We need to act now," he said. Myra nodded and ran toward the village, motioning for Liam to follow. When they reached the village, the chaos was complete. Homes made of stone and wood were being destroyed, and villagers ran in every direction. The beasts were powerful, smashing obstacles and hunting without fear. Liam quickly scanned the area and found a group of young humanoid warriors attempting to block the beasts. They fought with strength but lacked strategy. "Hold your line," Liam shouted. He sprinted forward, dodging a swing of a massive claw. He grabbed a fallen branch and used it as a lever to trip one of the beasts. The humanoids around him froze, watching as he moved with agility and confidence. He shouted instructions, directing them to flank the creatures and trap them in narrow alleys. Slowly, they began to understand. Myra followed Liam, helping direct smaller groups. She pointed to the terrain, showing where the beasts could be forced into natural traps. Liam set small nets made from ropes and vines to slow their movements. One of the beasts stumbled into a trap, roaring in surprise. The humanoids cheered quietly, gaining courage from the small victory. But the beasts were relentless. Another giant predator charged directly at Liam. He rolled to the side and narrowly avoided its claws. It lunged again, but Liam led it toward a narrow canyon. The beast was too large to turn quickly, and Liam used a rock to push it off balance. It fell with a loud crash, shaking the ground. The humanoids watched in awe. They had strength, but Liam's tactics showed them the power of thinking before acting. Myra approached him, panting from running. "You are different," she said. "You do not fight with only strength. You fight with mind and courage." Liam nodded. "That is what humans do," he said. "We use our minds and hearts together." As the fight continued, more humanoids joined Liam's side. They moved in formation, surrounding the beasts and using traps and coordinated strikes. Slowly, the tide turned. The beasts that had seemed unstoppable were being driven back. Liam noticed that their movements were still organized, but they hesitated more each time. They were not used to opponents who planned and worked together. Finally, as the suns reached their peak, the last of the attacking beasts retreated into the forest. The village lay in partial ruin, but the humanoids had survived the first major attack. Liam wiped sweat from his brow and looked at the villagers. Myra approached, smiling despite exhaustion. "You taught us today," she said. "We are stronger because of you." Liam smiled faintly. "No," he said. "You are stronger because you remembered courage. You have strength inside you that fear cannot destroy. I only showed you how to use it." Mira nodded, understanding that lesson more than words could explain. As the village rebuilt, Liam and Mira walked along the forest edge, observing the remaining beasts retreat. "They are not just wild animals," Liam said. "They have memory, strategy, and fear of something larger. We need to learn more about them." Myra shivered, glancing at the trees. "There is a story," she said softly. "A long time ago, the beast served a greater one, a shadow fang. It ruled all of Korath. It was defeated, but the fear remained. That is why we hide. That is why we fight carefully." Liam listened closely. He realized the beasts were only part of the danger. The shadow fang, whatever it was, might return. The humanoids had survived, but they had forgotten how to face fear fully. Liam's presence had awakened something inside them. The courage humans were known for. As night approached, Liam and Myra returned to the cave. The villagers gathered around a small fire, sharing food and quiet words. The air was tense but hopeful. Liam looked at the glowing eyes of the humanoids and knew that tomorrow would bring more challenges. But he also knew that together humans and humanoids could survive and even thrive. Liam sat near the fire, thinking about the day's battle. The beasts had tested them, and the humanoids had learned. He understood that fear could teach, but courage could unite. Tomorrow, the fight would continue, and the lessons of today would guide them. The morning light on Korath was softer than the harsh glare of the previous day. Liam stretched and looked around the cave where the humanoids slept. Mira was already awake, moving quietly among the small group. "Today we explore," she said in a soft voice. Liam nodded. The events of the previous day had shown him that survival meant learning, understanding, and preparation. They left the village carefully, following a path that led toward the mountains in the distance. Liam noticed signs of old structures among the rocks, stones carved and arranged in patterns that did not seem natural. Mira guided him to a narrow path hidden by overgrown plants. She pointed to the mountains and whispered a word Liam could not understand, but her tone was serious. He understood it to mean caution. As they climbed higher, the forest below became smaller patches of green. The wind carried a faint scent of minerals and whetstone. Liam kept his scanner active, watching for any movement. The beasts from the previous day were not near, but their presence was felt in every shadow. Mira kept close, speaking softly to the humanoids who followed. They moved with more confidence than the day before, though fear still lingered in their eyes. After hours of walking, they reached the entrance to a massive cave hidden behind a waterfall. The water fell in a silvery curtain, and the roar of it hid the sounds from the forest. Liam approached slowly, careful not to slip on the wet rocks. Mira waved him forward, pointing to carvings on the stone near the entrance. The images showed humanoids and giant beasts locked in battle, some with claws, some with strange weapons that looked similar to tools humans might use. Inside, the cave opened into a wide chamber. The walls were covered with ancient carvings, glowing faintly with a natural luminescence. Liam studied them closely. They told a story of long ago, when Korath was ruled by a great predator known as the Shadow Fang. The carvings showed massive creatures that were stronger and faster than any Liam had ever seen. They were cunning and terrifying, yet humans and humanoids had fought them together. Myra traced her fingers over the carvings, her eyes wide with awe. "This is history," she said softly. "Our people fought. We survived, but we forgot how." Liam nodded. "Fear can make us forget," he said, "but courage can teach us to remember." Myra looked at him, realizing that his presence was different from anyone her people had known. He did not seem afraid, even when facing the memory of monsters. Deeper. In the cave, they discovered more carvings that showed traps, plans, and strategies used to defeat the beasts. Liam studied them carefully. The humanoids had natural strength and instincts, but humans added creativity, thinking, and planning. He explained the ideas to Myra and the others, showing how simple tools and clever traps could turn the tide against even the most dangerous creatures. The humanoids listened closely, absorbing every detail. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the cave, a deep rumble from the mountains outside. Liam and Myra exchanged a quick glance. The beasts were near, and they were not acting randomly. Their patterns suggested intelligence and planning. Liam realized that the Shadowfang's memory lived in the minds of these creatures. They were testing the humanoids, learning how they would react. Myra motioned for everyone to stay quiet. Liam crouched near a carving, showing a trap designed to capture a massive beast. "We can use this," he whispered. "We can prepare and learn from the past." Myra nodded, pointing to the carvings that showed teamwork between humanoids and humans. Liam understood that courage was not just strength, it was strategy, planning, and using what the mind could create. As they studied, the shadows of the forest outside shifted. Liam could see movement through the waterfall curtain. He scanned the area and detected several large heat signatures approaching. The beasts were coming closer, drawn by the activity in the cave. Liam turned to Myra and spoke calmly. "We are ready. We have knowledge now. That is our weapon." Myra looked at the humanoids, who were tense but listening. Liam showed them how to use the carvings to set traps and organize themselves. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the chamber. The sounds of the beasts grew louder, their roars echoing through the mountains. Yet, inside the cave, there was a growing sense of hope. The humanoids were beginning to understand that fear could be managed and that knowledge could turn it into power. Liam smiled slightly, realizing that this was more than a battle for survival. It was a lesson in courage and memory, a reminder that even in the face of great danger, strength could grow. As night fell, Liam and Myra sat near the entrance of the cave. The roar of the forest seemed closer now, but they were not afraid. The carvings had taught them about the past, and the knowledge gave them confidence for the future. Liam knew that the beasts would return, and the Shadowfang's memory would challenge them again. But for the first time, he felt that humans and humanoids together could face it. Myra looked at Liam, her glowing eyes reflecting the faint light from the carvings. "You are not like us," she said softly. "You remember courage we have forgotten." Liam nodded. "Courage is not lost," he said. "It only waits to be remembered. And together we will remember it." The wind of Korath whispered outside. The cave, carrying the scent of danger and the promise of survival. The first lesson was learned, but the challenges ahead were only beginning. The next morning, Liam woke to the soft light of Korath's twin suns. The air was cool near the cave, and the forest outside stirred with life. The beasts had not returned yet, but their presence was felt in every shadow. Liam knew that the next challenge would not be about hiding or running. It would be about teaching the humanoids to fight wisely, not just with strength. Myra approached him with a small group of young humanoids. Their faces were tense but curious. "Today we learn," she said softly. Liam nodded and spread his hands to show calm and confidence. We will practice together. You have courage, but courage must be guided. I will show you how to plan and act as one. They started with the basics. Liam showed them how to use simple tools as weapons and defenses. Sticks could become spears, vines could make nets, and rocks could be traps. The humanoids tried it first, but were clumsy. Some stumbled, others dropped their tools, but Liam remained patient. Mistakes are lessons, he said. Every mistake teaches you something new. Myra helped by demonstrating techniques herself. She was strong and fast, but she had never used her strength in coordination with others before. Liam encouraged her to lead small groups, showing the importance of teamwork. Slowly, the humanoids began to understand. They practiced moving together, listening to commands, and acting as one body rather than as individuals. As the day continued, Liam introduced simple strategies to control the battlefield. He taught them how to use terrain to their advantage. Narrow paths could slow a beast. Rocks could hide traps. Height gave vision and surprise. The humanoids were quick learners, and their natural strength combined with Liam's lessons made them a dangerous team. By midday, the sounds of the forest grew louder. Liam knew the beasts were near. He led the humanoids to a clearing, showing them how to hide and wait. Mira helped position the others, following Liam's guidance. Remember what you learned, Liam whispered. Courage, planning, and teamwork. That is our strength. Soon, the first beast appeared at the edge of the clearing. Its black armor-like skin glinted in the sunlight, and its red eyes scanned the area. The humanoids froze at first, but Liam reminded them to focus. They moved as they had practiced, splitting into groups and flanking the creature. Liam used a small net to slow it, while Myra directed the humanoids to strike together. The beast roared, furious at the coordinated attack. It tried to turn quickly, but Liam led it toward a natural trap, a deep trench hidden under branches. The humanoids worked as one, pushing and guiding the creature without panic. Finally, the beast fell into the trench, struggling but trapped. The humanoids cheered, realizing the power of teamwork. More beasts appeared from the forest, larger and faster than before. Liam and Mira quickly adjusted their strategy. The humanoids formed a line, using tools and traps to control the battlefield. Liam showed them how to anticipate the creature's moves, using their strength against them. Mira led the younger humanoids, giving confidence to those who were hesitant. The fight was intense. The beasts were smart, avoiding traps when they could, and striking hard when opportunity appeared. Liam shouted instructions calmly, reminding the humanoids to stay focused. They moved with coordination now, using speed, strength, and strategy. Together, the creatures were formidable, but the humanoids were learning fast. By the end of the day, the forest quieted again. The beasts had retreated, leaving behind signs of their power, but also proof that the humanoids were improving. Liam and Mira surveyed the clearing. The humanoids were exhausted, but smiling. They had learned not just to fight, but to think, to plan, and to act with courage. Myra approached Liam and spoke softly. They are stronger now. They believe in themselves. Liam nodded. They have courage inside them. Knowledge and teamwork. Make that courage real. The beast will return, but next time they will be ready. As the sun set, the humanoids gathered near the fire. Liam sat among them, watching their faces glow in the light. Fear had not disappeared, but it had changed. Now, it was balanced with confidence and understanding. The lessons of the day had done more than train their bodies. They had trained their minds. Liam knew the challenges ahead would grow more dangerous. The beasts were not mindless animals. They were clever and persistent. But the humanoids had taken the first steps to reclaim the strength their ancestors had once shown. Liam felt hope for the first time since arriving on Korath. Together, humans and humanoids could face the dangers of the planet. Myra looked at Liam and smiled. "Tomorrow, we will fight again," she said. "But we are not afraid as before." Liam smiled back. "Courage is remembered when we act together. Tomorrow, we will teach them more, and we will be ready for anything." The night fell softly on Korath, and the fire flickered among the humanoids. Liam watched the stars above, thinking about the days to come. The beasts were only the beginning. Knowledge, courage, and teamwork were the true weapons that would protect this planet. The next morning, Korath was eerily quiet. The usual sounds of the forest, the calls of strange birds, the rustle of leaves, and the trickle of streams seemed muted. Liam felt a chill despite the twin suns warming the air. Myra noticed it, too. Her steps were careful, and she kept glancing at the distant mountains. Something was different. They climbed to a high ridge to survey the land. From there, Liam could see shadows moving in the forest far below. But these shadows were not ordinary beasts. They moved with purpose, almost as if guided by a single mind. Liam's scanner picked up large heat signatures, far larger than any creatures they had faced before. His heart beat faster, not with fear, but with the need to prepare. Myra spoke softly in her melodic language, pointing toward the largest shadows. Liam tried to understand. "It is the Shadow Fang," she said finally in broken common words. Her voice trembled. "It is awake." Liam's eyes widened. The Shadow Fang was not just a legend. It was alive, and its memory had guided the other beasts. The humanoids who had followed Liam looked nervous. Their glowing eyes flickered with unease. They had faced smaller beasts and survived, but the Shadow Fang was different. Its presence alone demanded respect. Liam turned to the humanoids. "Do not panic," he said. "Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting even when you are afraid." Myra nodded, repeating his words to the others. The Shadow Fang emerged from the forest edge. Its body was massive, covered in dark, glistening armor. Its eyes glowed like molten fire, and its roar shook the ground, sending birds into the sky. Liam felt the vibration through his boots. The humanoids froze at first, but then they saw Liam step forward. He raised his hand calmly, signaling them to hold position. "Watch its movements," Liam said. "It will test us. Every step we take must be careful, every action planned." The Shadow Fang circled them, studying, as if deciding whether to attack immediately. The smaller beasts followed, but now their movements were hesitant, guided by the Shadow Fang's intelligence. Liam realized that these creatures were learning from him as well. Myra whispered to the humanoids, urging them to remember the lessons of courage and strategy. Liam moved among them, adjusting positions, checking traps, and reminding each group how to coordinate. The Shadow Fang tested them repeatedly, moving closer and then retreating, striking with claws that could tear rocks apart. Each test caused the humanoids to hesitate at first, but Liam's calm presence reminded them that fear could be overcome. Hours passed. The Shadow Fang's attacks were deliberate, forcing the humanoids to adapt quickly. Liam noticed how their confidence was growing. They were no longer reacting randomly. They were thinking, planning, and acting together. Myra led a small group, showing agility and cleverness, trapping a young beast under a fallen tree. Liam smiled, realizing that the humanoids were beginning to trust themselves as much as they trusted him. Finally, the Shadow Fang lunged with all its strength. Liam shouted instructions, and the humanoids moved as one. They flanked the creature, guiding it toward a natural trap, a deep canyon partially hidden by rocks and brush. The Shadow Fang roared in anger and frustration, but its size made it difficult to maneuver quickly. Using a combination of ropes, nets, and coordinated pushes, the humanoids managed to slow the creature's movement. The Shadow Fang's roar echoed across the valley as it fell partially into the canyon. It struggled to climb back, its glowing eyes locked on Liam and Mira. Liam stepped forward, speaking to the humanoids. "This is the moment to act," he said calmly. "Do not strike out of fear. Strike with courage and purpose." The humanoids, now moving with precise coordination, pushed the creature fully into the canyon. It fell with a loud crash, unable to escape. The silence that followed was deep and almost sacred. The Shadow Fang was trapped, but not dead. The humanoids approached slowly, their glowing eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. They looked at Liam and Mira, understanding for the first time that courage and knowledge could overcome even the greatest fear. Mira turned to Liam, her voice soft. "We have seen it. We have faced the greatest fear, and we are not broken." Liam nodded. "Fear is a teacher. Today, it taught us courage, patience, and unity. Tomorrow, we will be ready for anything because we remember what it means to fight together." As night fell on Korath, the forest was calm again. The smaller beasts had retreated with the Shadow Fang, and the humanoids gathered around a fire near the ridge. Their faces glowed with pride and new confidence. Liam sat among them, watching the stars. He knew the Shadow Fang's memory would remain, but now the humanoids were no longer the same. Mira looked at him with gratitude. "You reminded us of who we are," she said. Liam smiled. "No," he replied. "You remembered it yourselves. Courage is not given. It is found even in the darkest shadow." The fire flickered, casting long shadows across the humanoids' faces. They had faced the Shadow Fang, and they had learned that fear could be overcome with unity and knowledge. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but Liam felt hope. Humans and humanoids together could face the dangers of Korath. Fear would no longer control them. It would guide them. The morning air on Korath was filled with tension. Liam and Mira stood at the edge of the forest, looking down at the valley where the Shadow Fang had been trapped. The canyon was deep, but the massive creature had not given up. Its eyes glowed with intelligence and rage, and the smaller beasts moved cautiously around it, sensing its power. Liam knew this was the final challenge. Today, they would end the threat or face great danger. Mira gathered the humanoids and spoke in her calm, melodic voice. Liam watched as they listened carefully. They were no longer afraid like before. Their eyes glowed with determination, and their bodies moved with confidence. Liam stepped forward and addressed them in simple words. "We fight together. We use our minds, our courage, and our strength. Every one of you has a role. We are not just survivors. We are a team. Today, we face the Shadow Fang and we will win." The humanoids nodded, understanding that courage was not just for themselves, but for the survival of their entire species. Liam and Mira divided them into groups. One group would lure the smaller beasts away, another would set traps, and a third would coordinate the final attack against the Shadow Fang itself. Liam checked the ropes, nets, and simple devices they had prepared. Every detail mattered. As they advanced into the valley, the Shadow Fang roared, a sound that shook the ground. Liam felt the vibration under his boots, but he did not falter. He led the first group to the hidden paths, guiding the smaller beasts into traps with careful movements. The humanoids moved quickly, following his instructions with precision. Mira was at the front, directing the younger fighters, keeping their courage steady. The Shadow Fang watched, its glowing eyes following every motion. It lunged at the humanoids, who were setting traps, but Liam had prepared for this. They used ropes and nets to guide it toward the canyon's edge. The humanoids worked as one, combining their natural strength with the strategies Liam had taught them. Every strike, every push, and every trap was calculated. The beast could not adapt quickly enough. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the roars of the Shadow Fang and the careful commands of Liam and Mira. The humanoids moved without panic, even when the Shadow Fang attacked directly. Liam jumped aside from a powerful swipe and signaled the others to flank the creature. Mira ran along the side, shouting instructions and keeping the smaller groups coordinated. Liam realized that this was more than a battle of strength. It was a test of courage, teamwork, and memory. Finally, the Shadow Fang reached the area where Liam had set the final trap. The canyon walls rose high, and a series of nets and ropes were ready. Liam gave the signal. The humanoids pushed together, using all their strength to guide the creature into the trap. The Shadow Fang struggled, but its size worked against it. It fell partially into the canyon, its claws scraping the rocks, unable to escape. Myra and Liam approached carefully, instructing the humanoids to stay calm and precise. The Shadow Fang thrashed and roared, but it could not break free. Liam studied its movements and realized that one final coordinated push was needed. He counted silently and then gave the signal. The humanoids pushed in unison, using every ounce of strength and strategy they had learned. The Shadow Fang fell fully into the canyon. Trapped and defeated, Silence returned to the valley. The smaller beasts fled, leaving the canyon and the humanoids behind. Liam and Mira stood among the group, watching the glowing eyes of the humanoids reflect relief and pride. They had faced the greatest fear on Korath and survived. Liam spoke quietly but firmly. You remembered courage. You used your strength and your mind together. Today, you are not just survivors. You are protectors of your land. Myra turned to the humanoids and repeated his words. We fought together. We won because we trusted each other and ourselves. The humanoids nodded, their faces showing the pride and confidence that had been missing for generations. Liam smiled faintly, realizing that the true victory was not just defeating the Shadow Fang, but teaching the humanoids to believe in themselves. As the suns began to set, Liam and Mira guided the humanoids back toward the village. The firelight reflected on their faces, and the quiet hum of life returned to the valley. Liam knew that the battle had changed everyone. Fear had been faced, courage had been remembered, and strength had been proven. Myra looked at Liam and spoke softly. You came to our land, and you reminded us of who we are. We will never forget today. Liam nodded. No, you remembered it yourselves. Humans only show the way. Courage lives in everyone, even when it seems lost. The night settled over Korath, and the sounds of the forest were calm once more. Liam knew that challenges would come again, but the humanoids were no longer afraid. They had learned to fight with strategy, courage, and unity. Together, humans and humanoids had defeated the Shadow Fang and the beasts, proving that knowledge, courage, and teamwork were stronger than fear. The morning sun rose over Korath, painting the valley in warm gold. The air was fresh and quiet. For the first time in generations, the humanoids felt safe. Liam stood with Mira at the edge of the village, watching the group of humanoids move confidently among their homes. They worked together, rebuilding and strengthening what had been damaged by the beast. Myra smiled at Liam. They are different now, she said softly. They do not run at every shadow. They remember courage. Liam nodded. Fear will always exist, but courage, teamwork, and knowledge make it smaller. Today, they are stronger because they faced it and did not flee. The humanoids approached. Liam and Mira, their faces showing gratitude and pride. One elder stepped forward, speaking in broken common words. You came from far, from another world. You fought with us, taught us, and reminded us of who we are. We honor you. Liam bowed slightly. I only helped you remember. The courage was inside you all along. Mira guided the group toward the fields where the humanoids had begun planting crops again. Liam watched how carefully they worked together. Some lifted heavy stones to build walls, while others dug trenches to guide water. Every movement showed coordination, planning, and thought. The village had transformed in just a few days. What had been fear and hesitation was now confidence. And action. Liam reflected on the journey. The beasts, the Shadowfang, and the dangers of Korath had tested not only the humanoids, but also himself. Humans had strength, but their greatest power was courage and the ability to inspire others. That had made the difference. The humanoids had learned to act, even when the greatest fear stood before them. Myra spoke again. The Shadowfang may return someday. Its memory is strong, but now we are ready. We will not run. We will stand together. Liam smiled. That is the lesson. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite it. You have learned it, and that will protect you more than anything else. As the day passed, Liam and Mira trained with the humanoids one last time. They practiced strategy, teamwork, and planning. Every strike and movement was precise. The humanoids had learned from mistakes and victories. Liam watched Mira lead a group, giving instructions with confidence. Her leadership had grown stronger, showing how knowledge and courage could inspire others. By evening, the village gathered around a large fire. The air was calm and the sounds of the forest were peaceful. The humanoids shared stories of bravery and cooperation. Some spoke of the battle against the Shadowfang, others of smaller victories in the forest. Liam listened quietly, feeling pride in their growth. They were no longer the same beings who had cowered at shadows. Myra stood beside Liam. They have changed. Their fear has been transformed into courage, she said. Liam nodded. And that will last longer than any single fight. Knowledge and teamwork are stronger than any beast. Mira looked at him thoughtfully. Your people remember courage even when it is forgotten. That is why humans are special. Liam smiled. It is not special. It is choice. Anyone can choose courage, even when the world seems impossible. The night grew darker and the stars appeared above Korath. Liam and Mira looked at the sky, feeling the calm of a world at peace. The Shadowfang was trapped, the smaller beasts had fled, and the humanoids had regained their confidence. Liam realized that the planet was no longer a place of fear. It was a place of hope, strength, and cooperation. Mira turned to Liam. You came here alone, but now you leave a new beginning, she said softly. Humans and humanoids together can face anything. Liam nodded. You have learned the most important lesson. Fear teaches, but courage unites. Remember it, and you will always survive. The humanoids around the fire looked at Liam with respect and gratitude. Their glowing eyes reflected the flames, but now they also reflected determination. The memory of fear had not vanished, but it had changed into something powerful. It had become a guide, not a prison. As Liam prepared to leave the village the next morning, the humanoids gathered to see him off. Mira hugged him briefly. Thank you for showing us the way, she said. Liam smiled and patted her shoulder. No, you found the way yourselves. I only walked beside you. The shuttle rose into the sky, and Liam looked down at Korath. The valley stretched wide, filled with life and courage. The humanoids worked together, laughed together, and faced the future with strength. The Shadowfang was gone, but the lessons of courage, knowledge, and teamwork would remain forever. Liam reflected on the journey. Humans and humanoids had shown that even the greatest fear could be faced. Courage was remembered, strength was proven, and the bond between species had grown. Korath would never be the same, and neither would its people. As the shuttle disappeared into the distance, the humanoids raised their hands in farewell. Liam knew that their future was bright. The lessons of fear and courage would guide them. Korath was no longer a world of shadows. It was a world of hope. And so, the planet stood calm under the twin suns, a new era beginning. Humans and humanoids had faced the forgotten fear together. They had survived, learned, and remembered that courage could overcome anything. The story of Karth and its people would continue, stronger and braver than ever before.